Oh, it's
Hi, welcome. We are Use Your Powers. We use our powers for good. I'm Meg. This
I'm
is
Dory.
Dor. And today we are talking about trusting.
And then this is that's Lulu.
Baby Lou!
Baby Lou.
Trusting the whisper, your gut feeling, your
Hmm.
your small voice inside you that tells you when things aren't right or little red flags.
Yeah. And so this kind of series we're talking about boundaries and we're talking about um, getting your needs met.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that I think is all just the subtle ways of even knowing that there are messages coming out of you. You just don't realize it.
Right.
And then we're just sharing some examples so you have awareness of like, oh, I do notice that, right? So like as simple as, and I think most people understand this example. Somebody asks you to do something and initially like, and you, let's say you're texting or you're on the phone so they can't see you and you're like, oh gosh. That is your gut talking, right? So even though what you're, there's all sorts of things we could unpack there. It's as simple as some part of you doesn't want to do it. So the answer is a no,
Yeah.
right?
But then I have those moments come up and there's a part of me that's like, oh, that sounds fun if I wasn't tired, or oh, but like, so in those moments,
Yeah,
which lately I've been finding lots of those moments, I feel like there's this collective drain
sure.
out there. Um, in that moment, I often say, "Thank you. I'd like some time to think about it."
Yeah.
So I'm find myself lately buying myself more time to actually think it through rather than feeling like I need to respond
Yeah,
yes or no or go against. I'm like, I just need more time these days.
for sure. And yes, and then also when the answer is no, finding a way to say no, which we'll come around to. And then we're going to talk about, and we're just going to put this, we're going to land this. You don't fucking need to give anyone proof or reasons why you need to say no, or why you don't want to do something, or why something matters to you. Like, I cannot say that enough. Whatever you want and whatever you need, you deserve to have. Um, the point, though, is that when the first awareness bubbles up, that you're cued into that. So, like Meg and I were just kind of talking through, um, trying to look back, like, gosh, was there times when I overrode my knowing, and however it was that I was made, it was just kind of in my awareness, and some of that was, and we talked about this before, like our dad was abusive, and so in an abusive environment, I was really hyper aware of what he was up to keep myself safe, and I used those skills and tools, and I think what that led to ultimately was me being dialed into my own awareness and my own intuition, right? So a lot of my memories are simple, and many of them stem from like in college, being aware of we'd be somewhere and there were lots of men, and I knew to get out. I knew the minute we walked in, I was like, oh, we need to get out of here, right? Why? Who cares why? Like, what? Why on earth would I
Right.
sit around for the why? But the piece then for a lot of us is that we were never given language around that, so then we just did the thing, right,
Mm-hmm.
and found ourselves in not great situations. And I'm not saying I did never find myself in that, but I'm just as an example. Um, that moving forward, there's no question. The minute you hear yourself say no, or get out of here, or this isn't safe, or you feel gross, or you feel sweaty in your mouth, or you feel sweaty, or you feel ugh, those are signs. Get out, or say no, or right.
Right. Well, and I think it's also paired with a fight or flight,
Yeah,
also.
for sure.
And I did not know the fight or flight. I think I froze.
Sure. That's the opposite, which is
Right.
the same.
So it was, I had to learn to become fight or learn to be in flight.
Yeah.
Um,
Versus you're saying that sometimes when something came up that inherently your body knew was uncomfortable, you kind of shut down.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Where I would be in these moments that, the subtle thing would become a red light and I would just be frozen.
Mm. Yeah, and I can see how that's a huge distinction to learn that about yourself, because then you gotta put some things in place to get out,
Right.
right?
And then it was an overcompensation of like, I'm going to just stay away from all this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to avoid it
Sure.
because I didn't know how to get through it.
Right.
But I think of my experience, not to compare, right? Versus people looking at me, I think always thought, oh, she's such some tough badass, right?
Sure.
But really, it was like, this is all I could do
Right.
to keep it away.
Right.
The boundary was way out here, so I didn't have to.
And as we talked about in a recent episode, that also can be a way that we cope and get our needs met.
Yeah.
Is with a boundary that looks like firmness and like, you
Yeah.
know, power, or
Right.
which gives you the space to reflect because you're paralyzed.
Right.
Right.
My chiropractor still says sometimes if she's treating me and she'll notice I'll do this, she's like, when something hurts, the response is out.
All right. Instead of like suck it up.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh right, like I'm just
Yeah.
so always just take it.
But that's such a great example too, because even when you're getting a massage, like, something that inherently should feel good, you're getting a treatment from someone, you don't like something they did. You don't like something they did, and you don't need to explain yourself.
And if you have to fart, say, could you please leave the room?
No, or excuse me, I'm gonna fart. I mean,
Right,
like,
right,
or whatever
right.
the thing is, right? Just all the ways that, especially with services that we pay for, right? It's like, no, something doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. You deserve to feel how you feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and say something. And that's kind of one thing we wanted to make sure to mention was like, well, how do you do this, right? So it's easy for me to be like, oh, I have this awareness and I want to get my need met, but then this is so cultural and we live in the Midwest, or I do. I don't want to hurt their feelings. You're seriously going to override what you need for yourself. Well, it's a thing, right? So the easiest way to do that often when it's someone that's asked you to do something, or can you help me with something, or do you want to go do this thing, or can I hand this off to you, or can you come to one more meeting at school or be responsible for one more thing? No, um, is that you're literally just looking at them and saying, or you're texting on the phone, and you're saying, oh, I love that you asked me, and often I would say yes. I don't have the bandwidth right now. I don't have the energy. Whatever your words are, you putting it in your own words and saying what your needs are instantly creates space for you, because what is that person going to say? No,
I'm gonna force you to
you
do these
can't
things.
meet your
Right.
need. Like, that's absurd.
Right.
Right. But so that's one way that you can start doing that, is the minute that you're like, ugh, I don't want to, then right away just handle it. Right. The minute the text came in, oh my gosh, so and so, love this, but I don't have the bandwidth. I have too much on my plate. That's
Yeah.
another way that you could say that, and you just literally float it out to sea. The other thing is, don't make stuff up. Don't make up some shit. Don't make up some story, because then you're gonna get held behind that story, as well as that's not a place of integrity, right? So keep it so ridiculously simple, and it also is the truth, right? Then you don't have to touch it or do anything with it
Right.
again.
And why is there so much guilt surrounded by
Oh my
being
gosh.
honest?
I don't know.
Why is there this like social bullshit about feeling like, oh, but I just.
I don't know.
Why do we do things like? Why do we put ourselves in these situations?
I know. Well, and again, it's because culture is set up this way. It's because we haven't taught people how to do these things.
Right.
I mean, we really need human being school,
Right.
right? To go and learn how to do all these things and have relationships with people that are fair instead of hierarchies and all these different things that we talked about.
Right.
And then I also want to mention, like, the opposite of this is true. So a lot of these examples are times that we've been aware of, like, that it doesn't feel good, get out, like, especially as a woman, that doesn't feel safe, I need to get out of here. um the opposite of that is true, is there are things that just inherently feel lovely and good, and I think sometimes my listening, as I've listened to women, predominantly women, over the last 30 years in my clinic, is, oh, I don't deserve that, that's not for me. Hang on a minute.
That causes cancer.
Right, right. Well, we're going to talk about that today, but we'll come back there. Um, is the awareness of, if something feels just like warm and fuzzy. So it can also feel like some nervous system things, right? It can feel like the heart up, but it can feel, but slow down and stay in it. And it's like, oh, that's actually my joy and my pleasure center, right? That's been triggered by this lovely thing that's been offered to me, or this person that I'm with that I feel really connected to. So you've heard me talk about the first time I met my partner. We hugged and I just felt this like deep connection, and just, I felt deeply safe. And then with one of my dearest friends, the minute I met her and she opened her mouth, she didn't even probably have to say anything. I instantly knew her and I were just, so you are allowed to trust that too, or at a minimum to step back and take that in, that that's also a way that our body speaks to us, is about things that are good and lovely.
I
Right?
remember seeing that with him with you.
Oh, when you first met him? Yeah.
I was like, oh, I think this is the first time I've seen you feel fully safe.
Sure. And we wouldn't have said it that way then.
Right.
Right.
But I got a video of it and a picture.
It's adorable. But that's also to say, I was in my late 40s when I met him. And for you to say that, I was 40 some years old before my sister saw me fully safe with someone. Hey, anything's possible and we could shift gears and do something new, right? Right. Lovely. Yeah. We're out on the porch, so those are the neighborhood sounds. So okay, so just to kind of recap, trust the whispers. At a minimum in the short run, just start to listen to them and just kind of see what your body is cueing you to do.
Also, maybe take a self-defense class, because that's where I really learned.
For people that, well, that'd be good for any person.
Anyone, it,
Yeah.
not even
Yeah. Nope.
warning signs, but it was.
Yep.
It got me on a nervous system level where I felt like it brought something like a kundalini energy out, and it was like, okay, this is how I react to yes and no now.
Yep.
Not a fight or flight, even just, oh, I can make choices in the moment.
Right. And it speaks to, because I see that I have this area that I struggle, putting a tool there, right? And that's a great example of how to work yourself out of ways that you know your nervous system operates that would be limiting if you did come into the face of some danger, right? Right.
For sure.
Yeah. So tune into yourself, see what you start to hear, and then see if you can start to act on those things. And then when something comes in that someone's asking you to do something and you're like, ugh, respond to it right away and make it come from you, validate the person and their expression to you, and then right away shut it down with, I've got too much on my plate, or I just don't have the energy for that right now. And certainly do not put any false stories in there that you then have to be responsible for, because you just created more work for yourself. So, okay. Thanks for joining us. Please
like, share, subscribe.
And we'll see you in the next episode.